All right, all right. I just got the grand news that we are live, and man, I'm excited. Woo! I got my first show here on YouTube tonight, and we're going to invite all those that want to come on into the room to please do that. I'm excited about the opportunity that I'm going to speak about tonight because, man, let me tell you something. I remember the days when I started my business. I remember those days many years ago. My company actually started 1992. So I want to make this very official. I'm Gregory Griffith. Welcome to the first GG Factor show tonight. My very special guest, and I'm going to say my friend, my man, John Mathews. How you doing, man?
Doing well, sir. Thanks for having me tonight.
You're looking good there. Well, hey, I'm going to talk about me for a couple of moments. Then I'm going to turn the floor right over to you, man. And we're going to make this nice and sweet tonight for people to understand the critical, pertinent reason why you need working capital. I met John for that reason alone. And to this day, I'm so glad I did, Mr. Mathews. I am so glad that I did. But my corporation is called the Omnigroup Corporation. I started it back in 1992. My primary business was the entertainment business then. As you know, I grew up as an entertainer. My family owned a nightclub in Tampa, Florida, which is my place of birth, Tampa, Florida. I'm a child of the 50s, right in the middle of 5 children to Essie Mae Griffith, William Hill Hammond. You know, I'm a child, can I say this with all due respect, man, the 50s was rough. I didn't realize it because I was a little kid, but my mom shared it with me. And when I got old enough to understand the Jim Crow era of the 50s, the kind of things we had to endure. And I must say, for my 2 sons right now, Greg Jr., Jonathan Griffith, hey, it's a lot better for them. My granddaughter, Alyssa, right now, and we are getting along a lot better right now. John, there was a time you and I couldn't sit like this, you know, and talk about doing business together. Are you kidding? No, but that means that we've come a long, long way. And I'm blessed that you're here with me this evening. As I said, my corporation is called the Omnigroup Corp. It actually started in the month of my mother's birthday, February 1992. And for a long time, I just sat on it. I've been in the entertainment industry since the 80s. I actually started playing in nightclubs when I was a kid, 16 years old. And you know something? What I want to share with you guys tonight is this. I found my passion as a kid. I found my passion that I wanted to be in business for myself as a kid. But you know something? I had a mentor. Of course, my mom was my first mentor because she had Mom's Kitchen on Wheels. Mom cooked her food, went out, sold it to the public, came back home and made sure we had something to eat. Yes, she was a teacher assistant. She worked as a social worker, but my mother was an entrepreneur. She had her job. And just like me, I had my W-2, and I'm going to share that with you. I'm a retired teacher. The same year I started my corporation in 1992, I started teaching in 1992. But I quickly learned, Mr. Mathews, that I needed a little more money at the end of the month. So without any further ado, that is the reason why I decided to incorporate. And I sat on it for a few years. I'll be perfectly honest with you. And then I decided to get aggressive about it. I left a band that I recorded 2 albums with, grew up with. When I left college in 1976, I went to Newark, New Jersey, went over to New York City, and I had a record deal. And I was in the music business full time, quite a few years. And I had 1 son at that time, my son, Greg Jr. Fast forward, I get married, I have Jonathan, and that was a game changer. I learned a lot about being around the block one time, Mr. Mathews, and I said, you know something? I need more stability in my life. So I went to graduate school. I got my undergraduate degree from Florida A&M University in business administration. I've always wanted to be a businessman. I've always felt like that. And I've always felt that the music business would be my business. And surely enough, when I left college without even a business started or anything of that nature, all I had was my desire and my passion. And I jumped on the back of a U-Haul truck with 7 other musicians. One of them, my baby sister, Ruby Baker. And let me tell you something. We had these really, really lofty dreams, but we did it. The first songs I wrote in my life went on an album. I couldn't believe it. But I was so happy that I had the opportunity to live out my passion. Now I'm going to back up a moment and tell you something about business. When I was in college, I was interviewed by Chase Manhattan Bank. And I was offered an opportunity to fly to New York City, interview for a job as a loan officer. Opportunities looked like they were going to be very positive for me for that position. And I thought about it. I said, I want to be an entrepreneur. I want to be in business for myself. And all of a sudden, I decided to not even pursue banking. But I tell you, it was a great experience at the Waldorf Astoria. And something happened back then that reflects upon what we're talking about right now, John, and I'll share it with you. Nobody even thought that I was a guy, a young African-American man back in the 70s in the Waldorf Astoria living there. Someone thought I was a bellboy. I will never forget that feeling. I was dressed to the T like this tonight, all sharp and everything looking great, John. And someone walked over and asked me to take their bags. And I said, no, man, I live here and I'm about to do some work in this place tonight. And that was a wake-up call back then. And I'll never forget wearing a suit that my dad bought me, man. And I felt so good about it. And I was like excited. And it took the air out of me for a minute. But you know what? Just long enough for me to remember you're here. The placement bureau sent you here. You've taken the business policy classes. You've taken corporate finance. You've been through two levels of advanced accounting.
Yeah.
You know, but at the same time, I said to myself, wow, things still haven't changed too much. But at the end of the day, I just want to share that with you. I came back from that interview fired up. I thought I was going to take that job. I decided not to. I jumped on the truck about 3 months later. That was back in the early part of my senior year. And I just went to New Jersey. My guitar player, Andre Walker, his family gave us a home to live in. And we had an album 6 months later. We flew down to Miami, man, and I just got back home. And we had our sax player's mother just passed away, Kitty, jazz pianist. She knew a producer at a record company. 2 things I'll talk about real quickly and we'll move on. Relationships will always be the new currency as we discuss this, because if I didn't know someone who knew someone, I don't know if they'd ever had an opportunity to see us showcase. When we got back to Florida and went down to Miami, someone knocked on the door and opened it for me. And tonight, I want to segue to you for just a moment, John. That's the reason why you and I are sitting here right now. We have a relationship. I trust you. You told me what to do. I did it. You secured me over $100,000 in financing and business credit cards, a line of credit. I still have a relationship with that bank to this day, First Citizens Bank. And I'll tell you the absolute truth, man. Relationships, relationships, relationships. Unconditional plug to Simon T. Bailey. He has a book called Shifting Your Brilliance. And I read that in his book. Never forget that relationships will always be the new currency. So with that said, my friend, I want to thank you for this relationship. And I'm going to finish my little story right now. I went to Miami because of my sax player's mother. She knew a producer, a relationship. The producer arranged an audition. The rest is history. We recorded that album with TK Records. And that same company was with Casey and the Sunshine Band, Betty Wright, Foxy, T-Connection, quite a few big bands back then. Anita Ward and Bobby Caldwell. We just really had a great time. We were young, crazy musicians. Remember, I'm fresh out of college, man. My mom mad at me. You didn't take that job in New York, Gregory. You could be making a salary. You have benefits. You know what I'm talking about when they want that job security. But I had to live and feel with that passion. When I was 6 years old in first grade, my brother, Nelson Griffith, went to Florida A&M University. And John, I said, I'm going to Florida A&M University. My brother marched in the March 100 band. My brother gave me my trumpet at 12 years old. And I said to myself, I'm going to FAMU and I'm going to march in that band. And guess what? I did. Yeah. And you know when that funny thing happened, John? I didn't realize that I'd become a teacher. I always wanted to be just a businessman. But my brother became a mathematics teacher. And you know, I didn't meet my father, my biological father, until I was 50. I had a stepdad back then, my mom's relationship, Franklin James Baker, who I will always say was daddy. I met my biological father at the age of 50. And the point I'm trying to make to you is this, man. At the end of the day, I had a father figure all along. It's been a big, big deal for me to say that. Thank God that my brother was in my life. That's why for both of my sons, I'm so honored to say they're college graduates. They're fine young men. They have beautiful wives. And I can say maybe I've done a little something right along the way, because they all say, Dad, I saw you go to college. I had to go. Dad, I saw you start a business. I got to start one. And both of them are entrepreneurs now. One works in the corporate world. The other one does too. But one has been a real estate investor like myself. You know, he's done his thing, man, Greg Jr. So I can say to you that, well, maybe, John, I might have done something right. I know your kids are little ones right now, and I'm sure you want to look up one day and say, hey, you know, I remember talking with Greg way back in the day on the GG Factor.
Yes, sir.
On the first night, today is the April 23rd, 2025. I won't forget this day. because I was a procrastinator. The fear monster was winning the game, John. Oh, what do you mean you want to start a YouTube show? Oh, what do you mean you want? And I put it off and put it off and put it off. It's something inside of me, and one of my mentors, unconditional plug to Brendan Boyd, he did it. He made it happen. And I'm here tonight. And honestly speaking, it's the same thing with me becoming a teacher. My brother was a teacher. I saw that the day came, I was a full-time musician. I came home from a job one night. They told me I was going to be moved to another job next week. And you know what, John? That job didn't come. And that's when Gregory Griffith went to graduate school. I had my undergraduate in business. I got a master's degree in education. The rest is history. I'm sitting here now, a retired teacher. I'm sitting here now also an entrepreneur. And I'm so happy that I never, ever stopped thinking about have my W-2, but I'm also going to have the entrepreneurial UG, and the rest is history. So without a further doubt, it's about 15 after. I'm going to turn the floor over to you, John. I want you to know this. I'm going to introduce you formally. This is John Mathews. He is the man that started the Midwest Corporate Credit Corporation. Am I correct about that? I don't know the year. You're going to tell us all the etiologies. Tell us about your company. Tell us about you. And tell us why you're here tonight. You got the floor, my friend.
Get forward. Thanks for having me on the show. And I can say, among all things, you are a totem of motivation, because through talking with you throughout the years, I come to learn that you ran your first marathon at 40 years old, and you did it every year thereafter. And your book, Activate or Stagnate, I read that book. And I was going to bed one night and I thought to myself, I got this class that I can finish, or I can go to bed. What the heck am I doing wasting my time? I'm finishing this class. And to the class I went to when I finished. And thanks to that class, I did a day trade the next day and made some money. So thank you, Activate or Stagnate. Help me make money.
Thank you for that. I thank you, man. I didn't even tell the listeners, viewers, man, that I'm a 25-time marathoner when you mentioned that. And you're right. I didn't even run the first one until after 40. So, hey, man, thank you for that. And more importantly, that you invested in this. And if you hang around to the end tonight, somebody might win this book. I'll make sure I got it online there. Okay. So, hey, John, I want to stop you once again. Go ahead and tell us all about why you're here tonight, why you're here, about your business and what you've done for me. I already said that you got me $100,000 in business financing, but let's talk about how that works and what you need to do to get a relationship with you.
So we specialize in funding businesses. We started this venture in 2009 and have been operating since. I started working here July 16th of 2012. Our specialty is funding startups, pre-revenue businesses. To qualify for capital, you need to have an entity and strong personal credit report. If the company's brand new, no problem. We love brand new companies.
Excellent.
With a 700 or higher FICO score from a business owner, your company, again, even if it's brand new, can qualify up to $100,000 on business credit cards. Most of the customers that we work with, we've got real estate investors that are looking for capital to help with the down payment and closing costs on their next property purchase. Or we've got customers that are retailers on Amazon. They might need to stock up on inventory from their suppliers so they can resell on Amazon. Heck, if you're a hot dog factory and you need to stock up on hot dogs and fries and boilers so that you can make your product, the business cards that you'll receive in this program have a 0% interest intro period for 6 to 12 months, and you can use these business cards to cover those expenses. These products, the business cards and lines that you'll receive in this program,
yes,
they only show up on business credit bureaus. So as you're investing into your business and incurring business expenses on your business cards, maybe you got a really busy month and maybe you max out some of your business cards. Since these products do not appear on your personal credit report, those maxed out business card balances have zero impact on your personal scores. So a common issue among business owners is they start their company, they invest heavily into their business using their personal finances and personal credit cards, and then fast forward a year, their credit scores are at 650 because all their personal cards are maxed out, and now it's hard for them to qualify for a mortgage or a loan or future products. With business credit cards, you can protect yourself from those temporary low scores by keeping the debts off your personal credit report by using business cards. And yep, that's what we want to see. To qualify, just got to have a 700 or higher FICO score. Gregory, you've got a a wonderful link that customers can click on to apply for funding online, quick and easy.
Yep, it's right there for you. I'm going to intervene for a moment and say that. But what I want to piggyback off about what you just said, critically important that you understand these are business credit cards that you're going to get. And I'm telling you the absolute truth. And you said something that's so important for them to understand. You can max those cards out and it won't bother with your personal FICO at all. I just want to make sure everyone clearly heard that. And honestly speaking, and I'll let you go ahead and go further about that, because not only are you offering the opportunity for them to get business credit cards, I do know that you do offer line of credit opportunities also, right, John?
We do offer lines of credit. There's a bit more underwriting involved for the lines of credit. So to be clear, on the business credit cards program, you can be a brand new company with no revenue. Company can be formed tomorrow and it will still qualify on the business credit cards program. We also offer traditional bank lines of credit, but to do the review on those, the company has to be at least 2 years old and will need to see 2 years of business tax returns confirming revenues.
Got it. That is one of the things I was going to ask you about. What would be the qualifying terms for approval for that line of credit? And you say 2 years minimum, right? I want to make sure I kind of echo some of the things you said that our listeners and viewers will get that. If you have been in business for some time and you have that 700 FICO and you feel very comfortable that you definitely need both the business credit cards and you also need that line of credit, John is saying the door is open. Come on in. It may take a little longer. That's another question I have for you, John. What's usually the timeline from inception to finish as far as getting approval for either the business credit cards, line of credit, or both? What's your timelines on that from the start?
On the business credit cards, so let's use an example. Let's say that you fill out the funding request form on Gregory's page. Part of that funding request form will take you 5 minutes to fill out online. Part of the funding form is getting a copy of a 3-bureau credit report online. There's a link on the funding request form that you can click on to download the report for $1. Upload that form into your funding request form, submit, boom, it'll come to us. From there, it takes about 1 day to run a funding estimate. If you like your funding estimate and decide to proceed with approval in the business credit cards process, it takes about 3 weeks to get your business credit cards in the mailbox. Then for the traditional lines of credit, I'll need to see your 3-bureau credit report along with last 2 years of business tax returns. And if qualified and you decide to proceed with approval, you're looking 6 to 8 weeks for the traditional bank lines.
Great. So what I want to do to make sure, like me, that I'm listening and processing just like our viewers. In other words, less than 30 days, you'll have those business credit cards, is what you just actually said, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Yes, sir.
But 68 weeks if you're trying to apply and get and secure a line of credit. And the minimum, obviously, being in business for 2 years. Now, other question, too, is that secured or unsecured in terms of being able to get the approvals?
All the business credit cards are unsecured. The lines of credit, some of them may be secured. And when I say secured, not secured by real estate, not secured by, but secured by business assets, what banks will call a UCC filing on the business.
Right. Well, thank you for clearing that for the viewers. Also, I'm speaking as though some of these terms you're using financially, people would be knowledgeable of. But when we're speaking of secured and unsecured debt, we're speaking about the fact that you may or may not have to collateralize some of your assets to be able to get the funding that you're seeking, and in this case, you're saying that potentially could be done. I myself, I do know that through collateralizing real estate, you can obviously get money a lot quicker because let's face it, you put up an asset saying that if you don't pay, they can take the asset. They make it a lot easier. Am I right or wrong about that, John?
Yeah, like for example, a home equity line of credit, get a nice low rate. The line is secured by the house. You default on payment, they foreclose.
Boom. Simple as that. It's not any different with personal than it is business. And if it is a real estate driven, income driven owned property, that you'll still go through that same thing that you're going through. The reason why I'm speaking of that is because I've been a real estate investor since 1997. Since 1997. And one unique thing I was able to do, and John, I wish I would have known you back then, but I learned a lot about it, was the fact that I was able to get into an apartment building in Miami Beach, an 8-unit apartment building with a laundry room. And believe it or not, man, No banks. I needed no credit. All I had to do was find out who owned that property, and we called it owner financing.
Yeah.
And I don't know how much of that is still around a lot right now, which sort of contradicts what you're doing tonight. But my point is this: along the way, I needed that working capital. I needed what you were able to get me. And just fast forward as I did progress, and it's exactly around the time, about 20 years later, I meet you in my life. And guess when I met you, John? I met you at the time that right now, the apartment building I own in Tampa, Florida, it was around that time that I needed to do some work on some other properties. I say, but I needed all my working capital to go into securing this particular transaction and closing. And you showed up.
Yeah.
And, and I met you on the internet. I just met you through doing exactly what we're doing right now. I met you through an email that you sent me. I responded back. I met all the preliminaries for me to get in. And truly, man, I can't thank you enough. Over the year, and you just most recently, was it December, January? But I've just gotten a few more business cards from you.
Yes,
So I'm not lying to you. This relationship goes back almost about 10 years.
Yep, it does.
And I'm blessed that you showed up, man. And I hope that I've talked to so many of my colleagues in the music business. I've talked to so many colleagues in the real estate industry and told them all about you tonight. And I'm hoping that, they'll take heed that, we all need working capital. So I don't know if there's any more questions we might have. I don't know if there's anything else that you might want to share about the realities. But what I want to say to all of the viewers is this: there's no such thing as that you got too much of this. It is impossible to imagine that you'll ever say, oh, I got enough working capital and I'm all right. Not going to happen. But this is my call to action right now. Tomorrow night, unconditional plug. We have a weekly webinar every Thursday night at 7 o'clock. We take you through this book. We tell you what it means to stay activated in your life, avoid procrastination. The book is entitled Activate or Stagnate. I have a Get Activated community. I love to be your mentor. I love to pass on some of these intellectual properties. And guess what? This gentleman sitting right here, he's in the camp. You'll have access to him. You'll be someone that you can reach out to. And I promise you that there are other people in the camp with their intellectual property. Tomorrow night, 7 o'clock, you may be a winner of this book, my $97 a month Get Activated community. There's a Stripe link right there. All you got to do is hit that link and you're in. But even if you don't want to join the community, I welcome you out tomorrow night at 7 o'clock. My wife's looking at me. What do you want me to say?
Well, people are texting me that they want to see it, but they're out or they couldn't get to it. Is this being recorded so they can go back? Oh,
yes, that's a great question. She was saying, is this session, the first session, being recorded? Yes, it is. And I'm going to post it right up. I'm going to post it up, and it'll be there for you to review this, as well as I'll also put a way for you to actually get access to John. And that's another thing, John. If I didn't put that, but it's all in that link, right? To contact me, and then it'll take you over to your company. Am I correct?
Yep. When that funding for request form gets submitted, the submission will come straight to me and you. And once I get that funding request form, I'm going to take a look at the credit report uploaded, and I'll give you a call to go over your funding review.
Well, I'll tell you this, man. At the end of the day, it's imperative for everyone to understand that seriously. And I'll use you as an example. You came along in my life when I needed working capital. You came along in my life to help me establish new banking relationships. You came along in my life when I didn't know a whole lot about how to really, should I say, go through the due diligence, do the necessary prerequisites that were pertinent to getting qualified. And guess what, man? You talked me through all of it. You got me through it all. And honestly speaking, relationships. I don't think I can say that enough. And at the end of the day, I feel that, a lot of people don't realize that relationships is the new currency. It really is. You got to have the skills. You got to have everything you need to have, but you got to be able to knock on their door and have the right people that can do some things for you. And more importantly, their intellectual property becomes part of something that you need. And tonight, that is what I'm doing. That is why I said to you, this book, tomorrow night at exactly 7 o'clock, we'll be doing the same thing. It'll be on a Zoom link. If you miss me, you can definitely go. Please subscribe to this channel tonight. Please also, if you missed it tonight and you don't even happen to get this, you can also DM me on my Instagram account. Just DM the word Strive. It'll take you right to the Zoom link. That's tomorrow night at 7 o'clock. Man, we got a great community of people showing up. And I'll tell you what, at the end of the day, it'll make a big difference in your life when you can understand that you have another intellectual property community that you can reach out to. John, I want to thank you so much, man. I don't know if there are any more questions that anyone's there. I see there are a couple of people. My man Robert Lemon checked in. Thank you, Robert. You got any questions yourself, man, that you want to put in the chat that you might want to confer or ask Mr. Mathews about? Robert is one of my greatest friends in the speaking industry. He's also a mentor to me. Robert is also a professional speaker himself, a reverend, and a very, very good friend, but he's incorporated. He has his business, and he would be the kind of guy I'm sure that's going to reach out to you. So, Robert, if you got a question, go ahead and put it in the chat. Anyone else, if you're online, feel free to drop us a question in the chat. We'll be glad to answer it for you. So, as I said, you have any other further information you'd like to share with us tonight, John? I think we covered all the bases. You looked over the Q&A sheet. Was there anything on that Q&A sheet that you think you might want to pop in that we didn't discuss that they might have thought about?
I just want to stress, brand new businesses are wonderful. If you don't have a company at the moment, no problem. You can still submit a funding request form. In the company name field, type in, I don't have a company yet. So long as your credit scores are strong, everything else will fall into place. If you've got 700 and higher FICO scores, we can likely get you qualified. Submit the funding request form, upload your credit report. I'll give you a call. If qualified and you want to form a business, I'll walk you through registering that new business.
Okay, now one other thing I want to bring up, just made me think about it. What's the impact if you've been through bankruptcy? If you had a foreclosure, what's the impact? Does that negate you totally, or how long has it been that you've had that? I need you to kind of open, because I really don't want them to waste your time at all. If they got some of those, should I say, the obscure things going on that are what I call luggage in the bag, there might be an obstacle.
If you've had a bankruptcy in the past and it appears on your credit report, you'll highly likely need to get that bankruptcy removed from your credit report and have reestablished credit since the bankruptcy before I can get you qualified. I've done funding for customers that have had bankruptcies in the past, but when it works well, it's typically when the bankruptcy is no longer on the credit report. And since the bankruptcy, say, for example, if the bankruptcy was in 2014, since 2014, the customer's done a great job of reestablishing credit, new credit cards, history of mortgage or auto loans. If the credit has been substantially rebuilt since the bankruptcy and it's not on the credit report, I can probably work with that. If the bankruptcy was in 2014 and after the bankruptcy, the customer got cold feet and decided, you know what, credit's not for me, I'm never going to do credit again. And fast forward to today, 11 years later, if I look at your credit report and the only thing that I see is utilities from Verizon, self-reported utilities, but the bankruptcy is not there. In a situation like that, I probably won't be able to help because you haven't reestablished credit since the bankruptcy. But generally speaking, if the bankruptcy is really old, not on your credit report, you've rebuilt credit since the BK, and you have good credit today, I'll probably still be able to work with it. But if the bankruptcy is on the report, I probably won't be able to get it funded yet.
I'm so glad that I brought that up, because that is something I would hate to see anyone go through the full process and not get to the end of the line and not make it happen. And one other thing I was going to talk about, it was right on the top of my head, man, that was kind of important. This is a little bit different kind of question. Some people may know of Dun & Bradstreet, they may not. But how does it work? Because you said something, if they'll go over, I hope everyone will take that link and go over and check out that little 2-minute video that he's got there, because it is excellent. It's just real quick synopsis about all the things that we're talking about and a lot more. But how does your company help people build, and you said it in that little video, business credit? We're not talking about FICO now. How is it that what you do will help anyone to build that D&B score?
Okay, so when it comes to business credit, Dun & Bradstreet is one of the credit bureaus for business. There's also Corporate Experian and Commercial Equifax. Mm-hmm. And it's important to distinguish the purposes of them. Corporate Experian and Commercial Equifax are credit bureaus that are generally used for the reporting of major bank loans and lines of credit. Dun & Bradstreet is a credit reporting system for vendor relationships, store cards. So your net 30, net 60, net 90 accounts. Let's say, for example, that a Capital One business card, which can be used to make purchases anywhere credit cards are accepted, that would typically report to Corporate Experian or Commercial Equifax. If you get a mortgage in the name of your business or an auto in the name of your business, that's typically going to report to Corporate Experian or Commercial Equifax. But let's say that you're a HVAC contractor and you install air conditioning systems on skyscrapers. In this situation, it might benefit you to have net 30 repayment terms with Kohler air conditioning systems, which now means that you can get an air conditioning unit from Kohler on credit. You can install the air conditioning system on a skyscraper, collect your profit from your customer, use the profits to pay off the balance that you owe to Kohler. If Kohler gives you a $500,000 line of credit, which can only be used to get air conditioners from Kohler and nothing else, a product like that is a vendor line. So think of like a JCPenney credit card.
Yeah.
There's JCPenney Visa cards, which you can use to buy product anywhere, but there's also the JCPenney store card that can only be used to buy product at JCPenney and nowhere else. Store cards, vendor cards, Quill, Uline, Granger. Store type accounts, vendor accounts are reported to Dun & Bradstreet and build your Paydex score. Major bank credit cards, major bank loans and lines of credit probably aren't going to do much for your DMB profile because DMB is for your vendor relationships, whereas Corporate Experian, Commercial Equifax is for your major bank credit card, loans and lines of credit relationships. The products that I'm going to get you approved for are going to show up on your Corporate Experian and or Commercial Equifax report, not Dun & Bradstreet. But there's more. When you finish the approval process, everyone will get access to a Dun & Bradstreet vendor list, which is a list of banks that you can apply to that report their products to Dun & Bradstreet if you wanted to build your Paydex score or have a Paydex score.
Nice.
And on my end, Paydex is it's not a requirement to have a Paydex score prior to going into the funding process. And if you already have a Paydex score, that's wonderful for Paydex purposes, but for my purposes, it's not needed.
Got it. Oh man, what a wealth of information, man. You just, I tell you a lot of it, obviously I'm familiar with because long I've been in this business, but when you start to talk a little bit more on the Paydex, on DMB and what's going on with that, I'm sure that was like right to the ears of people who didn't realize that, because you did say you're building your personal credit, but you're building business credit. And nothing like having that type of credential that you can also go in on the strength of your business, and you can also go in on the strength of your FICO. It is priceless, and I'm glad that you were able to differentiate the difference between the two to answer the questions that are quite pertinent and necessary. I think I've covered almost everything I could imagine. I don't think I looked over the Q&A. Did you see there's no more on that Q&A that we didn't get that we touched base, right? I want to make sure if you see one that you might want to discuss or not, if they're all there and you got them, I'll leave it up to you. We got about.
Well, I will say just to uncover some simple ones.
Yeah.
For the funding program, you have to be you have to live in the United States and you have to have a social security number. If you're not a citizen, that is okay, as long as you have a social security number and you have a United States home address. But if you live in Italy and you're trying to apply for funding in the USA, I can't help you if you don't have a home address in the United States.
So that's that, and I look myself, I'm so glad you brought that one up. Very good information to share. So even if you're not a citizen, you're saying that they do have a social security number, and obviously got the 700 FICO, they can apply.
Yep. If you don't have if you're not a citizen, so long as you have a social, you can still apply.
Oh,
excellent. As long as you have a social and live in the United States, you can still apply.
Excellent. I think we've covered everything I could imagine about why John Mathews, Midwest Corporate Credit, would be a good guy for you to reach out to. The link's right there. A whole lot of you, I know I reached out to personally and gave you that link to that sample little video as well as the application process. We're here for you. I'm here for you. Once again, I'm going to close the show out by holding my book up and saying tomorrow night, we want to invite everyone out. Every Thursday night, we have a personal empowerment, should I say, session. It's called the Strive Masterclass. And I have an acronym for the word strive: study, try, remember, innovate, visualize, and educate yourself forever. This masterclass is also about you living in balance. When I say study, try, remember, innovate, visualize, educate, I'm not just talking about your cognitive abilities. I'm not talking about you just looking good. I'm talking about who you are spiritually, who you are mentally, and who you are physically. I have a PERP questionnaire. That questionnaire will answer some questions about where you are right now versus where most likely you want to be, but you're not there. We should all be trying to be the best version of ourselves that we can. Of course, we want to expand. Of course, we want to take this cognitive thing to another level. But listen to me, and I'm going to lean in. Your health is your wealth. Your health is your wealth, your physical health and your mental health. So my job as the activator, as I call myself, is to find you about who you are, mind, body, spirit. Get some questions answered, offer you an alternative to come into the Get Activated community. $3 a day, man. You spend more of that at Starbucks. $97 a month. You can come into the community tomorrow night, 7 o'clock. Until then, I hope I'll see a whole lot of you show up tomorrow night and think about doing the right thing about mind, body, and spirit. But most importantly, tonight, John Mathews, man, I can't thank you enough. This was great. The information was excellent. I want to say, I'm going to hold you to this. I may want to revisit you in a couple of months to come on back and let us get some feedback, because I'm sure you'll always be available to share the right information, man. So until the next time, my friends online and everyone out there listening, hey, the GG Factor Show. Tell somebody about me every Wednesday, 7 o'clock. I'm here to inspire you. I'm here to empower you and let you know that you can function at your maximum potential. But like the book says, you got to activate, because if you procrastinate too long, you'll stagnate. And that's my job as the activator. Till next week, we're going to say good night and see ya. John, thank you so much, man.
Thank you, sir.
Can't hear you. Can't hear you.
Well, that was a great night, man. I mean, that was just, can you hear me now, Maru? I must have hit the mute button or something. Can you hear me? You can't? Well, I want to say this, that was a very good session. Well, like I say, a guy that's a businessman, but a friend of mine. And I want to say to you all that every week at this time on Wednesdays, the GG Factor to inform you, to give you the information you need to take your life to the next level. I know my live stream is still there, so I want to say this to you. Tomorrow night, don't forget, you can come on out, you can log in and have a real good time with the webinar that we have. This Zoom webinar will give you the skills necessary to take your life to the next level. Until the next time, my friends, on next Wednesday, we're going to say, hey, go out and tell somebody about the GG Factor to inspire you and empower you. Till next Wednesday, see ya.